Hey YouTubers, Mike Boards with the Mike Boards channel. Thank you for watching. Today we're talking gas cooktops, and you're probably watching this video because your cooktop is making that constant clicking noise, probably annoying the heck out of you. There are several reasons that can cause this. However, in this video we are going to focus on cleaning the ignition switches. Let's take a look. Alright YouTubers, at the cooktop now, and safety first always. We need to cut all electrical power to this cooktop. With that said, let's locate our household circuit breaker panel, turn off the breaker that provides electrical power to this cooktop. At the circuit breaker panel, and on the inner portion of the door you should have a diagram that labels all of the circuit breakers. In our case, circuit breaker number 4 is the stove and cooktop. And on the side, you should have etched engraved numbers. Here's circuit breaker number 4. Turn it off. Back at the cooktop, and to verify that the electrical power has actually been cut from the cooktop, these are your knobs, and every time you push down on this knob, underneath here is your ignition switch. This ignition switch sends electrical power to the igniter, ultimately trying to light the burner. And that's where you get that clicking sound. So by pushing the knob down and attempting to send electrical power to the actual igniter, we can see that we do not have electrical power. From here, let's focus on these knobs. A lot of times you have grease, you have grime, you have food, and all of those food particles, grease, and anything else, cooking oils, as you can see here, gather underneath all of these knobs. And on top of that, you can actually have corrosion with the electrical portions underneath these knobs. So with that said, I want to remove all 5 of these knobs. And these are a little tricky. I recommend using equal force underneath it as you pull these up. Okay, try to come over to the light here. There it is, and you've got a metal tab under here. We can see that that is kind of corroded, so we will clean that as well. Set that aside. And again, there is your ignition switch. We can see overall this one's pretty clean. However, we do have a lot of dust, and that could be grease in there and dust gathering on the grease. So again, let's remove all 4 remaining knobs and check the condition of each ignition switch. Okay, all 5 knobs have been removed, and we have much better access to all of the ignition switches, as you can see here. And take a few minutes and inspect each of the ignition switches. This one is pretty corroded there. We've got some grease and dust inside there. And go each ignition switch, just inspect the actual condition of each of them. And at this point, we're going to do 2 things. Number 1, we want to make sure that the surface of the cooktop is clean, no grease, no food, or any other thing that could be affecting the actual ignition switch. Second thing, let it dry. And once this is dry, we're going to grab a vacuum and try to vacuum up all of this dust. And I see a couple cobwebs, not sure how spiders get in there, but they do. So let's start there. Our surface is clean, it's dry. Let's grab the vacuum and vacuum it. Alright, YouTubers, making progress. Vacuuming each of these ignition switches was definitely helpful. It got rid of a lot of the debris, a lot of the cobwebs and dust. However, as you can see here, there is still a little bit of corrosion on the top portion of a couple of the ignition switches, and we've got to get rid of that. With that said, I've got a shot glass of vinegar. Check out that shot glass, Bourbon Street, New Orleans. And a couple Q-tips. We are going to dab in the vinegar and just spend a little time working into that corrosion and removing it. And I will complete this process for all 5 of these ignition switches and clean these up very well. You can see that's kind of dirty. Alright, YouTubers, spent a couple minutes and cleaned all of the ignition switches with the Q-tips. As you can see, those are pretty dirty. And the ignition switches are far cleaner than what they were before we started the project. From here, Let's direct our attention to the knobs and the inner portion here, this little metal tab there. We are going to clean all of that corrosion off. Grab a Q-tip and dip it in the actual vinegar and scrub away at that and clean each of these knobs up. As you can see here, each knob has corrosion. We need to get all of that corrosion, dust, grime, or any grease out of this portion of the knob. And the reason behind that is because this little metal tab here is what creates the electrical connection, and it has to be clean. If it's full of grease, dust, or corroded, the ignition switch will not get the proper electrical power that it needs, nor the electrical connection. So very important. And again, we need to get all of that corrosion, dust, grease, any food particles out of there. Clean all of these knobs. And after you clean each knob, let them dry. At this point, all 5 knobs are clean. We are going to let those sit for about 30 minutes and dry. Real quick, back to the ignition switches. While we were cleaning this with the actual Q-tip and the vinegar, we also cleaned all of these metal tabs sticking up. Any corrosion, any grease, any dust or cobwebs that are on these metal tabs will interfere with the required electrical connection, and with that said, won't allow the ignition switches to work effectively. So again, verify that you have cleaned each of these metal rods or tabs sticking up. Get all that corrosion and dust off of there, because these rods are what these portions of the knob connect to and create that required electrical connection point. Alright YouTubers, it has been 30 minutes and I have verified all of the knobs are dry, and now it's time to put the knobs back on. Verify the actual slot here, position it properly. In most cases it is self-explanatory, as you can see here, and we are going to carefully, with equal pressure on each side, put each knob back on. Here's the second one again. Position it properly, equal pressure, and push down. And continue with the remaining 3. Making progress, all 5 knobs are reinstalled. Let's head back to the household electrical panel and turn on the breaker. Back at the circuit breaker panel, again, circuit breaker number 4, stove cooktop, and number 4, 20 amp circuit breaker is now back in the on position. Back at the cooktop, and at this point we have all 5 burners up and running, rocking and rolling, and no clicking, and that is our ultimate goal. So this is a successful project. In the event that you have a cooktop that is still clicking, we need to move on to the next troubleshooting option. A video scrolling above right now is a step-by-step video that shows you how to actually clean the igniters on each of these burners. And in the event that you try that, you clean all 5 igniters on all burners and it's still making a clicking sound, there is a third option that we can do. We can actually clean the entire underside of these burners underneath these actual plates. And I have a video scrolling at the top as well for that. And I'll also put a link of each of those troubleshooting videos below in the description. And one additional video that I have, in the event that you have just a single burner making a clicking sound, for example, let's say the middle is clicking aggressively and no other burner is making a clicking sound, we need to direct our attention to the actual middle burner knob here. And chances are you have a faulty ignition switch. You've cleaned it, we've tried everything to get rid of all the grease, all the food, all the dust, and it's still making that clicking sound. We need to actually remove this cooktop and replace that ignition switch that we just cleaned. And don't worry, that is a pretty friendly DIY project. That's it, YouTubers. See a quick friendly DIY project, and hopefully that stops your clicking sound. If it does not, scrolling at the top or at the end of this video are additional links to additional items that we need to look into. Definitely check those out. Do us a favor, below the video you will see that thumbs up icon. Click on that, like the video, subscribe to the channel, go to your settings, turn on your YouTube notification bell. Once you do that, every video that we upload, you will be notified. You will be able to stay up to date with us, and that will be awesome. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you at the next videos.